The third law of power addresses one of the most fundamental aspects of strategic thinking, the imperative to keep others in the dark about your true goals and methods. Robert Greene's Law 3 states that you must always conceal your intentions, keeping people off balance and in the dark about what you're really after. By cloaking your movements and masking your purpose, you create an environment where others cannot prepare defenses against you, cannot anticipate your next move, and cannot mobilize opposition to your plans. This law rests on a simple observation: knowledge is preparation, and preparation is defense. When people know what you want, they can position themselves to either assist you or block you according to their own interests. When they understand your methods, they can copy them or devise countermeasures. When they grasp your ultimate aims, they can form alliances to oppose you or race you to the objective. Transparency, whatever its moral virtues, is a tactical disadvantage in competitive environments. The concealment of intentions isn't merely about lying or deception in the crude sense. It's about controlling information flow, managing perceptions, and presenting yourself in ways that serve your purposes rather than revealing them. Sometimes this means misdirection, leading people to believe you want one thing when you actually want another. Sometimes it means creating such complexity and ambiguity that people cannot discern any clear pattern in your actions. Sometimes it means being so forthcoming about trivial matters that people assume they understand you, while your real intentions remain hidden beneath this surface transparency. Greene positions this law third because it builds on the first two laws. You've learned not to outshine the master and not to trust friends too readily. Now you must learn to guard your thoughts and plans, because even the most loyal ally or subordinate can become a liability if they know too much. The person who understands your full strategy can leak it, intentionally or accidentally. They can use that knowledge to position themselves advantageously. They can become complacent, assuming they know what you'll do next and therefore failing to adapt when you change course. Human beings are fundamentally social creatures who broadcast information constantly, often without realizing it. We signal our intentions through what we focus on, what we talk about, what excites us, and what we avoid. A business person who keeps asking questions about a particular market segment reveals their interest in that sector. A politician who repeatedly mentions a particular issue signals their priorities. An employee who suddenly becomes curious about a different department's operations hints at their career ambitions. These signals allow others to prepare. Competitors can rush to secure advantages in the market you're eyeing. Political rivals can preempt your initiatives by launching their own. Colleagues can block your advancement by positioning themselves as better suited for the role you desire. In each case, your revealed intentions allowed others to act against your interests. The problem intensifies because humans are pattern-seeking creatures. We watch others and build models of their behavior, trying to predict what they'll do next. The more consistent and transparent you are, the easier it becomes for others to model your behavior and anticipate your moves. This predictability transforms into exploitability. Your enemies know how you'll react to provocations. Your competitors know which opportunities you'll pursue. Your colleagues know which concessions you'll make and which you'll resist. Moreover, revealed intentions create accountability and commitment in ways that constrain your flexibility. If you've announced your goal publicly, changing course becomes difficult without appearing weak, indecisive, or dishonest. You've locked yourself into a path, even if circumstances change and a different approach would serve you better. The person who keeps their intentions private maintains the freedom to pivot, to adapt, to pursue opportunities as they arise without needing to explain apparent inconsistencies. Concealing intentions doesn't mean being silent or passive. In fact, complete silence often arouses suspicion. People wonder what you're hiding and become more attentive, more investigative. Instead, effective concealment involves strategic revelation and misdirection. You talk freely about some things while hiding others. You create the appearance of transparency while maintaining actual opacity about what matters most. Timing also plays a crucial role in concealment. You can discuss an intention so far in advance that people forget about it or assume you've abandoned the idea, then strike when attention has shifted elsewhere. Alternatively, you can reveal an intention so late that opposition cannot organize effectively. The announcement and the action happen nearly simultaneously, leaving no time for countermeasures. Perhaps no historical figure better exemplifies Law 3 than Otto von Bismarck, the architect of German unification in the 19th century. Bismarck sought to unite the various German states under Prussian leadership, but this goal threatened Austria, France, and numerous smaller German states who feared Prussian dominance. Had Bismarck announced his intention to create a unified German empire, he would have faced immediate and coordinated opposition that might have prevented unification entirely. Instead, Bismarck concealed his ultimate objective beneath a series of seemingly discrete conflicts and diplomatic maneuvers. He presented each action as a response to immediate circumstances rather than steps in a grand plan. When he provoked war with Denmark over Schleswig-Holstein, he framed it as a matter of German honor and Austrian-Prussian cooperation, not as the first step toward unification. When he subsequently maneuvered Austria into a war that excluded them from German affairs, he presented it as settling the administrative disputes that arose from the Danish conflict. Each individual action appeared justified by immediate circumstances. Only in retrospect did the pattern become clear. Bismarck had systematically removed obstacles to Prussian dominance while keeping potential opponents divided and uncertain about his ultimate aims. By the time France recognized the threat and went to war to prevent final unification, it was too late. Prussia had already secured the allegiance of the other German states, and the Franco-Prussian War completed the unification process rather than preventing it. Had Bismarck been transparent about his intentions from the beginning, Austria and France might have allied earlier, the smaller German states would have resisted Prussian leadership more vigorously, and European powers would have intervened diplomatically to maintain the balance of power. Concealment allowed him to accomplish what transparency would have made impossible. In the business world, Steve Jobs demonstrated masterful concealment of intentions throughout his career. Apple's product launches became legendary partly because the company maintained extraordinary secrecy about what they were developing. This secrecy served multiple purposes. It prevented competitors from rushing to market with similar products. It built anticipation and media attention. It avoided creating expectations that might constrain design choices. Most importantly, it prevented the industry from understanding Apple's broader strategy. When Apple entered the phone market with the iPhone, the move surprised analysts who had seen Apple primarily as a computer company. Apple had concealed their intentions so effectively that competitors didn't prepare adequate responses. By the time other companies understood what Apple had created, the iPhone had already established dominance. Similarly, the iPad emerged into a market that didn't know it needed tablet computers, precisely because Apple had studied the market privately while revealing nothing about their plans. Jobs took secrecy to remarkable extremes. Different teams working on the same product often didn't know what other teams were doing. Employees signed strict non-disclosure agreements. Product prototypes were disguised in generic cases. Even Apple's board sometimes learned about new initiatives only shortly before public announcement. This multi-layered concealment meant that leaks, when they occurred, revealed only fragments of the full picture, and observers couldn't reliably distinguish genuine leaks from deliberate misdirection. Concealing intentions creates an interesting psychological dynamic. On one hand, it generates unease and sometimes suspicion. People prefer to feel they understand those around them, and opacity frustrates this desire. On the other hand, mystery can create fascination and even attraction. The person who reveals everything becomes predictable and boring. The person who maintains some mystery remains interesting, commanding attention and speculation. In negotiations, concealment of intentions provides crucial advantages. The person who reveals their true priorities and constraints first has handed their counterpart a roadmap to exploitation. If you're negotiating to buy a business and you reveal that you must complete the acquisition within 3 months to satisfy your investors, you've given the seller enormous leverage. They know you're operating under time pressure and can extract better terms by delaying. If you conceal this deadline, the seller must negotiate without knowing your true constraints. Similarly, revealing what you're willing to accept establishes a ceiling for negotiations. If you indicate that you'd be satisfied with a 10% raise, you've eliminated any possibility of receiving 15%. Your transparency has cost you. The person who conceals their satisfaction point maintains the possibility of exceeding it. However, total opacity in all relationships creates problems. Some contexts require sufficient transparency to build genuine trust and collaboration. The key is calibrating your openness to the situation and the relationship. With close collaborators working toward shared goals, some transparency about intentions helps coordinate action. With competitors, rivals, or those whose interests might diverge from yours, concealment becomes essential. The skilled practitioner of Law 3 develops the ability to appear transparent while remaining opaque about what actually matters. They share freely about certain topics, creating an impression of openness that obscures their selective concealment of genuinely important information. They cultivate a reputation for directness that makes their occasional misdirection more effective because it's unexpected. The contemporary environment poses unique challenges for concealing intentions. Social media encourages constant sharing. Corporate culture often emphasizes transparency and authenticity. Technology makes information more difficult to control once it exists in digital form. Yet despite these challenges, Law 3 remains as relevant as ever, perhaps more so because fewer people practice it effectively. In the corporate world, successful executives have learned to manage the appearance of transparency while maintaining strategic opacity. They share extensively about company culture, values, and current operations while revealing little about future strategic direction. They discuss completed initiatives in detail while concealing plans in development. They appear accessible and open while carefully controlling what information actually flows. Tech companies have mastered this balance. They maintain blogs, host conferences, publish research, and generally project an image of openness and transparency. Yet their actual strategic intentions, particularly regarding acquisitions, new product categories, and major pivots, remain closely guarded secrets. The volume of information they share obscures what they're concealing. Observers assume that companies sharing this much must be fairly transparent overall, missing the selective nature of the disclosure. In professional contexts, career advancement often requires concealing your ultimate ambitions while appearing engaged with your current role. The employee who makes clear they see their current position as merely a stepping stone to something better often finds advancement blocked. Managers invest in people they believe will remain in their departments, not in people clearly planning to leave. The ambitious professional learns to express enthusiasm for their current responsibilities while privately preparing for the next opportunity. Political campaigns demonstrate Law 3 continuously. Successful candidates conceal their full agenda, knowing that complete transparency would alienate portions of the electorate. They emphasize themes and values while remaining strategically vague about specific policies. They signal different priorities to different constituencies, allowing each group to project their own hopes onto the candidate. Only after securing victory do they reveal their actual priorities, and by then opposition faces the accomplished fact of their election. Social media presents particular challenges and opportunities for concealment. The platforms encourage sharing and reward engagement, creating pressure to reveal thoughts, activities, and plans constantly. Yet this environment makes strategic concealment more powerful when practiced effectively. The person who shares actively about certain aspects of their life while concealing others creates misdirection through selective revelation. They appear transparent because they're visibly active on social platforms, yet what they choose not to share remains invisible. One of the most effective methods of concealing intentions involves creating what might be called a smokescreen of trivial truths. You share extensively about matters of little consequence while hiding what actually matters. You might discuss your daily routine in detail, share your opinions on current events, reveal your preferences in food and entertainment, all while concealing your actual professional objectives or strategic plans. This works because human attention is finite. When you provide abundant information in some areas, people feel they understand you and stop looking for what you're hiding. The volume of revelation creates an impression of transparency that obscures selective concealment. Moreover, the information you share isn't false, so you're not exactly lying. You're simply controlling which truths receive emphasis. A business executive might write articles about leadership philosophy, give interviews about work-life balance, and speak at conferences about industry trends, all while concealing their company's actual strategic initiatives. Competitors read the articles and attend the speeches, assuming they're gaining insight into the executive's thinking. Meanwhile, The actual plans remain hidden, and by the time they're revealed through action, it's too late for competitors to respond effectively. Politicians master this technique. They extensively discuss their personal stories, their values, their concerns about various issues, creating an impression of accessibility and transparency. Voters feel they know the politician personally. Yet the politician's actual intentions regarding specific policies, their private calculations about political alliances, and their genuine priorities often remain concealed beneath this performance of openness. Understanding Law 3 requires recognizing why transparency, despite its moral appeal, creates strategic vulnerabilities. When you announce your intentions, you trigger several dynamics that work against you. First, you create opposition. People whose interests conflict with yours can now organize against you. Second, you create competition. Others who want the same objective can race you to it. Third, you create expectations that constrain your flexibility. Fourth, you invite premature judgment before your plans have matured. Consider someone who announces they plan to write a novel. They've now created accountability that adds pressure rather than motivation. They've invited questions about progress that become annoying. They've set themselves up for either accomplishment or visible failure. Most dangerously, they've invited others to judge the plan itself before execution has demonstrated its viability. Well-meaning friends might discourage them, pointing out the difficulties of publishing or the statistical unlikelihood of success. These warnings, however accurate, sap motivation and create doubt. Compare this to someone who simply writes the novel without announcement. They face no external pressure, just their own internal commitment. No one knows to ask about progress, so there's no need to explain delays or difficulties. If they ultimately fail to complete it, only they know. If they succeed, they can reveal the completed work when it's undeniable. The concealment creates space for authentic effort without the distorting effects of external attention. In competitive environments, transparency is even more costly. The startup that announces its innovative approach to a market problem has just educated every competitor about both the problem and a potential solution. Well-funded competitors can now copy the approach with greater resources. The startup might have been better served by concealing their innovation until they built sufficient advantage to defend it. Negotiators who reveal their constraints, deadlines, budget limits, alternatives, hand their counterparts the information needed to extract maximum concessions. The buyer who says they must purchase something by a certain date can be charged premium prices. The seller who reveals they're desperate to unload an asset will receive minimum offers. Concealment maintains negotiating power by keeping the other side uncertain about your true position. The modern emphasis on authenticity appears to conflict with Law 3's advocacy for concealment. We're told to be ourselves, to show vulnerability, to share openly. Yet authenticity and strategic concealment aren't necessarily incompatible. Authenticity involves being genuine in your values and character. Strategic concealment involves controlling information about your plans and methods. You can be authentically yourself while remaining strategically opaque about your intentions. You can share genuine emotions and perspectives while concealing tactical plans. The authentic leader might openly discuss their values and decision-making philosophy while concealing which specific decisions they're currently contemplating. The authentic entrepreneur might share the challenges and emotions of building a business while concealing which pivot they're considering or which acquisition they're pursuing. The key distinction is between being authentic about who you are and being transparent about what you plan to do. The former can build trust and connection. The latter often undermines strategic advantage. You can reveal your character while concealing your strategy, your values while hiding your tactics, your principles while obscuring your specific applications of those principles. Some relationships do require greater transparency about intentions. Close partnerships, marriages, and intimate friendships function better when people share their goals and plans. But even in these relationships, some concealment might be appropriate. Surprise birthday parties require concealed intentions. Career moves might need to remain private until they're certain to avoid unnecessary worry. The difference is that concealment in intimate relationships serves the relationship itself, not strategic advantage over the other person. Perhaps the most sophisticated application of Law 3 involves understanding when to conceal and when to reveal. Perpetual concealment becomes itself a pattern that others can anticipate and work around. Strategic revelation at chosen moments can be more powerful than constant opacity. You might conceal intentions during the planning and preparation phases, then reveal them dramatically when you're ready to act. The revelation itself becomes a power move, demonstrating that you were working on something significant while others remained unaware. This creates an impression of depth and capability that mere transparency could never achieve. Alternatively, you might reveal certain intentions to misdirect attention from others. You announce one initiative publicly, drawing scrutiny and competitive response, while the initiative that actually matters proceeds privately. By the time observers realize they were focused on a decoy, the real objective has been achieved. The timing of revelation also matters. Revealing intentions too early invites opposition and competition. Revealing them too late might mean missing opportunities for collaboration or support. The skilled practitioner gauges when revelation serves their purposes better than concealment and shifts between the two as circumstances require. Conclusion: the strategic necessity of mystery. Law 3 teaches that in competitive or political environments, transparency is a luxury you often cannot afford. Your intentions, once known, become weapons that others can use against you. Your plans, once revealed, can be copied, blocked, or preempted. Your goals, once announced, create constraints on your flexibility and invite opposition. This doesn't require becoming a manipulative deceiver who trusts no one and reveals nothing. Rather, it requires developing discernment about what to share, with whom, and when. It means understanding that some information provides strategic advantage precisely because others don't possess it. It means recognizing that mystery and ambiguity can be more powerful than clarity and transparency. The person who masters Law 3 moves through the world with a certain inscrutability. Others find them difficult to read, hard to predict, and impossible to fully understand. This creates unease in opponents and fascination in observers. It prevents competitors from preparing effective counter moves. It maintains flexibility to adapt as circumstances change. Most importantly, it ensures that when you finally act, your action carries the force of surprise, catching others unprepared and unable to mount effective resistance. In a world that increasingly demands transparency, the ability to strategically conceal intentions becomes rarer and therefore more valuable. Those who recognize this truth gain advantages that the reflexively transparent can never access. They act while others are still reacting. They achieve while others are still planning. They succeed while others are still trying to understand what just happened. This is the power of concealment, not mere secrecy, but strategic control over what others know, when they know it, and what they think it means. Master this, and you operate in a realm of possibility that remains invisible to those who reveal everything and wonder why success eludes them.